Hey, entrepreneurs, tell me what's wrong with these two questions. Am I serving two masters? And the second question is, should I be playing to win or playing not to lose? There's something in common. Both of these questions have come up in the course of coaching that I do with entrepreneurs. And the common problem with both of them is that they create a false dichotomy. Let's take the question, am I serving two masters? The implication is, well, you can't serve two masters. You're going to fail at both if you, for example, split your attention across different business projects. The problem with that false dichotomy is that it's acting as if those are the two options in life, when in reality, you have a definition of success. And the path that you take to get there is going to be a decision-making process that only happens after you've defined what success is. So the problem with saying, am I serving two masters, and just using one of these sayings that pops up in pop culture or in motivational podcasts, when people say you've got to, just go for the one idea and don't split your attention, don't have several different businesses you're working on at once. Well, that depends. How do you define success? Do you define success as not going backward financially, but having more opportunities to hit a home run? Or do you define success as working on only one thing and not having to split your attention because you want to really invest in your team and your employees? The way you define success is going to determine which path has the best odds of getting you there with the least downside risk, meaning risking the things you care about, which could be progress or it could be security. The answer to that is different for every person. So we want to always first define success. And that's a difficult thing to do, because as soon as you define success, you start to have this fear, right? And so this fear that, well, what if I don't achieve that? And so we sometimes don't want to admit to ourselves, what does success really look like? And it's a personal definition, and it changes depending on different phases of your life. But you should define what it means for this phase of your life, or the goals you're working on now. Define that first. Then it makes it easier to answer the question, is it a problem if I'm serving two masters? Well, if you have these two different businesses and the diversification is part of your strategy to be able to unlock your definition of success, and you believe that gives you the best odds of doing so, maybe it's one business that has a steady source of income and something else that's more of a moonshot, and you know that it buys you more runway financially if you keep the one relative to the downside, which is now you've got decreased mind share and you're splitting it. And we know from productivity principles that splitting your mind share means you're going to get less time out of yourself per hour that you're working when you're splitting it across two things relative to focusing it on one. But we have to remember that time and money are interchangeable. So if you're making money here, you can use that to hire engineers or hire COOs or hire consultants who can come in to speed you up on the side project. And so these are considerations that all come back to defining success. Let's go back to the other question. Shouldn't I be playing to win and not playing to avoid losing? Again, that's a false dichotomy. Like, what person says, I don't care how much I lose. I don't care if I harm my health and lose all of the millions of dollars I've saved up to this point in my life, as long as I just achieve that one goal. Very few people would say, I only want one or the other, right? So that's creating this false dichotomy. It's a motivational thing, right? Where we say, I'm playing to win. And it's true that there is a psychological impact. When you show up at work playing to win, it's a different mindset. So I'm not discounting the fact that that's a psychological mindset that can be useful. It's just that when it comes to decision making and deciding, using that to determine how you approach, whether you take risk into consideration and how you make your decisions, well, now it's just a false dichotomy that's not serving you. So when we're trying to decide what is the best path forward for you and your business, don't get caught up in thinking, well, it's one or the other. Like, I'm either trying to avoid losing or I'm trying to win. It's always both for everyone, right? You have a definition of success. So we have to, again, come back to, what is your definition of success? And if that means being able to make sure your kids have a stable life as they're growing up, and you don't have to move them from school to school as you try to find cheaper housing to be able to live in because you blew yourself up by taking too big of a risk on one business, that's part of your definition of success, is saying, I want to maintain at least this, what I've achieved, but I'm going to also play this game over here where there's tremendous upside potential and relative to the downside risk, which is pretty small. And I'm going to balance both of those because those give me the best odds of achieving my personal definition of success, whatever that is for you. So this is your challenge. Just whenever you hear these kinds of things come up in podcasts or motivational books where you're being sold motivation in a way which is beneficial, has a lot of power and strength to it, and it's good. I encourage you to use those kinds of things to saturate your mind with things that unlock energy and mental strength for you. Just also be careful that when it comes to the decision-making process, that you don't get caught up in false dichotomies. Here's your challenge for this week. When it comes to the things that you care about, the things that you've been working towards achieving, I want to just ask, how clearly have you defined those things? Because the more clear you are about what that is, the easier it is to then decide whether or not some of these platitudes are, in a way, false dichotomies that prevent you from thinking clearly about how to best achieve that success that you're looking for. Talk to you again next week.